All right, let's talk about Far Cry 3. It's one of the most beloved games in the series, hailed as a masterpiece by many. But here's a question. Is it really as perfect as people say? Sure, it's packed with an incredible story, unforgettable characters, and that open world freedom we all love, but doesn't it have a few cracks in the armor? And while fans call it the pinnacle of the franchise, what exactly makes it stand out above the rest? Let's dive in and figure out why Far Cry 3 became such a phenomenon, what made it so groundbreaking, and yeah, why it might not be everyone's cup of tea. First off, Far Cry 3 dropped in 2012, developed by Ubisoft Montreal. At this point, the Far Cry franchise was already known, but it wasn't the behemoth we know today. The first Far Cry in 2004 had been groundbreaking for its time. Huge maps, AI that felt alive, and tactical gameplay. Then came Far Cry 2 in 2008, which was ambitious but divisive. Remember those constant malaria attacks and guns jamming mid-fight? Yeah, rough times. But Far Cry 3, it flipped the script. It was like Ubisoft learned from their mistakes, amped up the action, and gave us a world we actually wanted to explore. The Rook Islands were more than just a setting, they were alive. Wild animals hunted each other, the lush environments felt immersive, and every moment begged you to go, what happens if I go there? So what made Far Cry 3 the best of the series? For one, the story. You weren't playing as some military hero or a hardened badass. You were Jason Brody, a regular party guy thrown into absolute chaos. You crash land on a pirate-infested island, watch your brother die, and have to go from a scared kid to a total killing machine. And let's not forget the villains. Vaas Montenegro. You've probably heard that name even if you've never touched the game. His infamous definition of insanity monologue is still burned into gaming history. Voss wasn't just another bad guy. He was unhinged, unpredictable, and weirdly likable. But it wasn't just the characters. The gameplay hit that perfect sweet spot of freedom and challenge. How you tackled missions was up to you. Stealth, full-on Rambo, or just release a tiger from its cage and watch the chaos unfold. Combine that with a crafting system, skill trees, and satisfying progression, and you had a game that made you feel like you were evolving with Jason. Far Cry 3 sold over 10 million copies as of 2020, and it's still considered one of Ubisoft's biggest successes. For context, Far Cry 2 sold about 2.9 million, and Far Cry 4 later hit around 7 million. That's a huge leap, and it showed the industry that players wanted this mix of open-world chaos and storytelling. Graphics that blew us away then. Now let's talk visuals. In 2012, Far Cry 3 looked stunning. The tropical setting wasn't just beautiful, it was vibrant. From the crystal clear waters to the dense jungles, every detail made the Rook Islands feel like a paradise. Well, a paradise filled with pirates and man-eating tigers. Sure, by today's standards, the graphics look a little dated, especially compared to the photorealism in Far Cry 5 or Far Cry 6, but back then, it was jaw-dropping. It set the benchmark for open-world games, showing just how immersive a world could be. So why was it so well received? The gameplay in Far Cry 3 was revolutionary for its time. Ubisoft gave players the freedom to approach objectives however they wanted. Let's say you're taking on an enemy outpost. You could sneak in with a bow, silently taking out enemies one by one, or you could plant C4 on the road, lure a patrol into a trap, and watch the fireworks. Want to go full Rambo with an LMG? That's an option too. The game also rewarded experimentation. Liberating an outpost without being detected earned you extra XP. Using animals to your advantage, like freeing a caged tiger to attack your enemies, was another creative strategy. And speaking of animals, the wildlife was a game changer. The Rook Islands felt alive because the animals weren't just there for decoration. Predators like tigers, bears, and sharks could attack you or your enemies. Hunting wasn't just for fun. It was essential for crafting better gear. Need a bigger ammo pouch? Time to hunt some boars. Want to carry more weapons? Better track down a rare tiger. The crafting system tied everything together, making exploration feel meaningful. Every animal you hunted, every plant you gathered, and every mission you completed brought you closer to becoming the ultimate survivor. Honestly, Far Cry 3 nailed the balance. It didn't overwhelm players with too much to do, but it also didn't hold your hand. You could explore caves, take down outposts, hunt animals, or just drive around causing chaos. The game also respected your choices. Want to play stealthily? You were rewarded with extra XP and cool skills. Prefer going loud? No problem. Grab a grenade launcher and go wild. It was your playground and you decided how to dominate it. And the progression system? Chef's kiss. Unlocking new skills felt meaningful. You didn't just get stronger, you got cooler. Skills like death from above or chain takedowns weren't just useful, they were badass. But let's address the elephant in the room. Not everyone loved Far Cry 3. One common criticism was Jason's character arc. While his transformation from scared kid to mercenary was compelling, some players found it hard to believe. I mean, one minute he's a guy who can barely hold a gun, and the next he's out-sniping trained mercenaries. The story also had its fair share of cliches. The whole white savior narrative, where a privileged outsider becomes the hero of an indigenous people, didn't sit well with everyone. And the ending? Without spoiling too much, let's just say it left people divided. Now, here's where Far Cry 3 really shined. It redefined what an open-world game could be. Before this, many open-world games felt empty, big maps with not much to do. But in Far Cry 3, everything felt intentional. From hunting animals to liberating outposts, every activity tied back into the gameplay loop. It also pioneered the idea of sandbox chaos. The game didn't just give you objectives, it gave you tools and let you figure it out. Want to use explosives to take down an enemy camp? Go for it. Want to stealthily take everyone out with a bow? Be my guest. It was freedom, but with a purpose. Crafting was another standout feature. Instead of just finding better gear, you made it. Want a bigger wallet? Time to hunt some boars. Need more ammo pouches? Better take down a tiger. It made the world feel alive, like everything you did mattered. And let's not forget the radio towers. Climbing them to reveal more of the map became a signature feature for Ubisoft games, showing up later in Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs. Here are a couple of fun tidbits about the game. Vaas wasn't even supposed to be in the game. He was created after Michael Mando's audition blew the developers away. Imagine Far Cry 3 without Vaas. Yeah, I can't either. The game's antagonist, Hoyt, was partly inspired by real-life cartel leaders. Ubisoft really went deep to make the villains believable. And get this, there are still secrets being discovered in the game over a decade later. Hidden caves, Easter eggs, it's insane how much detail went into this world. So, is Far Cry 3 the best game in the series? Honestly, it's hard to argue otherwise. It had everything: a gripping story, memorable characters, freedom to play your way, and an open world that felt alive. But no game is perfect, and Far Cry 3 isn't an exception. Still, it's the game that defined the franchise and raised the bar for open world gaming. It's the reason so many of us fell in love with this series in the first place. If you enjoyed this breakdown, stick around. More videos like this are on the way. See you in the next one.